So I'll try it.
All right, what's up, champ? So we're just gonna go over a little Q&A, maybe some whiteboard actions on the Morby method. I'm not a professional, never done one, but understand the concept. Brandon, you had a question real quick, right?
Yeah, it seems to me that the Morby method is accumulation of a couple of different building blocks. And one of them, yeah, so I want to understand like what are the pieces that make a Morby method?
Okay,
What is
so
involved?
I've never done one, but did you jump in and say something real quick?
No.
Okay, my bad. I've never done one, but I understand the concept and I'm ready to just start doing them. But if we can step back and not look at all the different factors right now, I'll kind of break down the concept of how simple it really is. When someone like us goes out and buys our own property, whether we're going to use Bank of America or FHA loans or whatever, VA loans, conventional loans, whichever lender at the end of the day is working with us, might appraise the property and say, hey, I'll give you 70 to 80%, right? So let me see if I can whiteboard it too, so we can have a visual example at the same time. Because the big picture is very simple. It's like almost buying your own property. That's the real thing. What you're doing is you are buying a property unless you're assigning it, but it's the same concept. A lender's coming in to give 70, 80% down. And here we go. Let me collab. Use grant access. Here we go. So if a lender comes in and gives you 70 or 80,000 or 70 or 80%, let's use the numbers 100 grand and make this very simple. So the
70,
whiteboard's open.
80% of the purchase price, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. My bad. I was a little confused trying to put this up. The whiteboard's open. Go ahead and zoom out to like 40% or whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and use an example of 100,000. So let's say this property that you want to buy is 100 grand, or you're working it to assign it to somebody that's going to do a Morby method. The big picture is if you were to buy your own house, you would use a lender like normal, right? So let's just say they're like, hey, we'll give you 70%. Some might give you 80%. So be open to it. Just like Eric, you said Pace Morby was talking about buying a house for 500 grand and he got a loan for 400,000. That's 80%. I did the numbers.
Yep.
And so sometimes they do give you 80%. So let's just say it's 70 on this one. Let's say it's Bank of America. It's a weird ass B, but whatever. Bank of America, they're willing to fund the deal. But just like if you bought your own house, they won't fund it if you don't have the other 30% at the close of escrow, right? You guys understand that, right? If you buy your own house, a lender will give you, they won't give you 100%. They're going to give you 70, 80. But what has to happen for the difference? Somebody has to come up with this, right? It's usually you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I mean, there are like other programs that allow like a 3.5% down payment or whatever. But let's just go example like this. So at the end of the day, you have to put your own money. You have to put your own money at the close of escrow down. And if you don't, this guy over here won't fund it because he doesn't see your skin in the game. To make 100% of the purchase price, there has to be 100% of the money there. And this person right here, whoever it is, won't give you 70,000. They won't put their part in unless you put your part in. And that has to be both there at the close of escrow for it to be funded. Now, right here, this stays the same. Whichever lender you're going to use, if it's an investor loan, whoever, this stays the same in the Morby method. Now, this 30% still needs to be put down, doesn't need to be put down by you. Now, if the homeowner, the seller agrees to carrying 30%, then they're going to do that. The thing is, you can't come to the table with the promissory note with an IOU from the seller. You can't do that. You need real money to close on that deal. So this is what you owe to the seller. And they're open, they're down for the 30% to finance you, but that doesn't work. That's not valid enough for this guy over here to say, nope, you're still not in the game. That's an IOU. I need $30,000. I need the $30,000 in there at the close. Otherwise, we're backing out. So we instruct escrow what to do once we fund this and pay back the lender. So here's the difference right here. Instead of you putting your money down, the seller is not putting money down if they're financing you. So you can't get that approved from this lender to help you out. So you're going to need actually 30% down. You're going to need 30 grand, whether it comes out of your pocket, cool. If not, you can use a transactional lender. This is what basically the majority of people do in this part. They're going to call up a lender that does this type of lending. So they only charge you their fee, which is usually 1% of the asking of the lending amount. And so what happens is you agree with this company that's going to let you borrow $30,000 for the transaction, right? It's a transactional lending company or a private money lender that does the same. And now they're requesting 1% on the 30,000 from this transactional lender, which is $3,000. So they come in and fund the 30,000, which is 30%, gives the okay for this person to do it. They fund the whole. Now the whole thing is funded. $100,000 is here. We don't tell this person what we're doing here or that we're using this person. They think we're putting our own money into the table. Now, our instructions are, once it's funded, this person's bouncing. You know, this big company ain't going to come back and check on us. They're bounced. They bounce. They're not going to come back. So escrow has instructions on what to do here. Now that it's funded, I need you to release back this money, this 30,000 plus 3 grand, back to the transactional lender for me. Send it back to them. And yes, if there's no money left over, you obviously got to deposit $3,000 to pay them, right? So it funds it back, and then escrow goes ahead and then drafts this note and then records it for the 30%, and you're good to go. And that's essentially what happens in the Morby method. Similar to buying your own house, it's just the person who's putting the 30% down isn't going to be you. It's most likely going to be a transactional lender. And then once they fund the deal, the original lender bounces, right? They do their thing. I mean, the bank that's funding the majority of the deal, they see your skin in the game, they jump out. They're not reviewing it anymore. They see that you came through, you followed through. And now that they're gone, they're not paying attention or whatever, they're not all involved. Now it's time for the escrow to do their job, and you set the instructions. Return the money with the profit, and then go ahead and draft a note and record it, and we're good to go. And that's the overall concept. I've never done it. I just understood it, understand how to pitch it. And now I understand that, you know what, let's go over Q&A, and then I'll break down like an example where you get funded 70% and you can still only give them 20, 30, and you keep that, is what I'm understanding and what I'm learning. But overall, there's a lot of scrabble on this whiteboard and shit. So I just wanted to ask you guys, did this kind of make sense, me breaking it down this way?
It's becoming a little more clear. Now, these kinds of properties that people use Morby method for, are they usually cash flowing properties, or are they, discounted properties? Or does it really matter? I mean, the point is just that, they get their big down payment that they asked for.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It'd be nicer to get them, in a market condition, turnkey condition. It'd be great. Yeah, because you don't got to put extra money. You can start cash flowing. But no, it doesn't have to be specifically as is or turnkey. It's really used when the homeowner is open to terms, but they need a certain amount of money down. It's too much. Because remember, if they don't need it, it's your job to go in there and do the fact finding. Hey, is it really the purchase price or money down type of thing? How Brandon uses that phrase a lot. That's on you to go and check out. But if they give you a real reason, a valid reason, no, I need $60,000 on this $100,000 purchase price for this or that. And that's the really like, okay, so really, if you had that, you would work with me. Yeah, well, I have one fucking strategy for you, sir. I can possibly get you that 60,000. Here's what will need to happen, though. You explain it or whatever. And okay, cool. Boom. So it's really in a scenario where the homeowner is open to the whole creative finance option. They just request more money than it makes sense to put down. Sometimes 20% isn't it won't ruin the deal sometimes, like 20% of entry fees. It really depends on the terms they give you, but there are times where they're like 20% and then the terms don't make sense. And you're like, well, if I clear that out, I really have a payment at 70%, right? Because you're only getting a payment from this lender at 70%, and you can create whatever agreement you are with the seller. So 70% of the market value with today's interest rates is actually lower than buying it at 100 grand with today's interest rate. So it might make sense. Let me go ahead and open a new whiteboard.
What are
Yeah.
usually the entry fees? Or yeah, what are normally the entry fees associated with this kind of deal? Is it the money you bring down to the transactional bank or the transactional lender?
Yeah. It also depends, like if you got 70% and you only agreed to get 50%, well, you got funded 70%. So you can use some of that money to pay back the transactional lender. So you really have no money out of your own pocket at the end of the day.
Yes. So it could be an infinite return because I know you mentioned that before.
They typically will be
Potentially, depending on
infinite
the deal.
return. Those ones will be infinite returns because you're getting it all funded from a different party. So literally, it's an infinite return if you have none of your own money or your lender's money, meaning a private money lender. You're borrowing somebody's money for 30 years. It's leverage. It's good debt. And so there's no skin in the game. If there's skin in the game when you buy a house and you put 10% down or 20% down, how everybody else buys before pays stamp to create a finance. So everybody had skin in the game when they buy houses because you typically have to use conventional financing, and then you put 5, 10, 20% down. You now have a cash on cash return. It's not infinite until your cash is out. And your cash on cash return is backed up by the rate of return.
Now, the IOU or seller finance instructions, I know that Kyle had mentioned, it's usually pretty short, right? Because like you really just need them to hold the financing for the 30K until you get a transactional lender. Is that right?
Yeah, and we use words just like instructions because that's what it's called, but it's simple. Like you could fucking tell that, hey, agent, this is what's going down. After they deposit the money, just release the money that's owed to the transactional lender, and then give them their 1%, and then go ahead and start recording. Send over the paperwork to record the promissory note for the homeowner. We call it an IOU. It's called a promissory note or a mortgage, but it's same shit as an IOU, right? So I just use that word real quick to make it easier for you guys. But yeah. They're quick.
But really, the note is not like a. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
It's like texting an agent some shit, or if you have it in a document or whatever. It's as long as they just understand.
Okay.
Yeah. Typically, you draft it all up though, right? I'm just saying that it's as simple as just verbalizing it or talking to them. It's that simple. Instructions aren't hard, just let them know what's the game plan. Kind of like I had to give the agent instructions on how to work innovation when she never worked it and still got it done. It's just that